got hosed down with a fire hose, I think. There was so much that was just thrown out there about God. So many ways to look at God. So many ways to think about God. So many different ways for us to understand who God is in our lives. And today I was thinking, we'll be able to kind of do a part 2 of who is God. But as I dug deeper into this text, as I was hoping to be able to come with some really fancy Hebrew words and impress you all with all of my incredible knowledge and ability to read a commentary, I kept looking for something, and it's so obvious. The words are so clear, and yet words that are hard to grip or grasp or wrestle with. It's a strange concept, this section, because basically we are compared to grasshoppers. Little tiny brains, big wings, and not really the ability to fly. And we are shown this world that is overwhelming, this world that is falling apart, this world that is so filled with brokenness and brokenness in our own lives. And we hear that cry as it says, "My way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God." Let's be honest. I don't want to show hands, but in your heart of hearts, how many times have you stood wondering, really, God, how much longer? Really, God, what more are you going to put on my life? Really, God, are you listening to this grasshopper who's lost in the field? The text goes on and kind of reminds us that all this stuff that we value, all these people that we elevate, all these people that we look to or that we despise are nothing. They are nothing, and the wind just blows them away. Their time is now, but they will fade. Their time is present, but they will be gone. And then there's these promises that get lifted up. These promises that invite us to remember who God is. To remember that God is the God who created the universe. That God is a God of great strength and power and wisdom. And that God is a God that is actually concerned about you grasshoppers. That God is a God that loves creation and longs to bless. The image of these small-headed grasshoppers who can't fly, but in the strength, in the power of God, we are like eagles, flying through the valleys, flying over the mountain peaks. Through God's love and strength and grace, we are lifted up beyond our own abilities, beyond our own strength, beyond all of those things. God blesses us and keeps us. That God does hear, God does listen, and God does respond. A promise to cling to. That although we are weary by life, a life that even makes the youngest and the strongest of us unable to continue on, we have this promise. For those that wait for the Lord shall be renewed with their strength. They shall mount up with wings like the eagles, and they shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You know, Sunday mornings are actually kind of easy. Because I get to stand up here, and I get to take Scripture, and I get to just say, this is what Scripture means, and it lands there. And then during the week, I have this incredible privilege of interacting with you in your own life. To interact in your joys and in your heartaches. To wrestle with those places where things feel like they're falling apart. And so many times I hear people ask me, why? Why? And there's no answer. Why this? that I give are so, I don't know, Jesus-y. Because sometimes the only answer is this. Sometimes the only answer is, I don't know why, but I believe that God will lift us up. I don't know why, but I believe that things will be made right. I don't know why, but I believe that God is a God that still works in our lives. And sometimes that's all I've got. And sometimes, as their faith is falling apart, all I can do is say, I will have the faith for the both of us as God carries you through. And for some of us, this is but a moment, and for others, this is a lifetime of wrestling and struggling and calling upon God and feeling like there is nothing but deaf ears that is listening. But we persist because we cling to the promises. Yesterday, I was blown away. I got a text that David had died. It took me a little bit to figure out who David was. Because David has been a part of our family for 3 years now. And because I wanted David to feel a part of who we were, I didn't want to keep asking him his last name. And we didn't take any paperwork on David. We didn't get his phone number. We didn't get any of those things. See, David came to us, I believe, because God felt we needed a good experience and we needed to be blessed. See, about 3 years ago, I vividly remember this, I preached a sermon asking us, we are a room for all church. Are we truly room for all? And the next week, David came to church. And David would sit right up there. And David was struggling with alcoholism, was struggling with a lot of pains and anguishes of life. But he would come. And I remember talking to the staff, I hope we do what's right. And the beautiful thing is, I think we did. We embraced him. We welcomed him. He was a part of our family. And he would come, and sometimes he would be wobbling up there on the balcony, and I was a little anxious. And other times, he was on top of his sobriety. But every time he came, I was greeted with this incredibly huge hug, and this incredible amount of enthusiasm and appreciation. Every time that I saw David, I would say, David, how you doing? I'm okay. I'm good. I'm bad. It was all over. And I would say, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need help? Nope, we're good. And he would keep telling me that we were giving him what he needed. A place to come and pray, a place to worship, a place to be accepted. I had heard once that David used to be quite the rock climber. I mean, not just a rock climber that people, like world-renowned rock climber. And I heard that and kind of passed it on because David obviously was not in that kind of shape and ability today. When I got the word, there was a couple things that were attached to that were very, very upsetting to me. The one thing was, the first thought was that David might have died of hypothermia because he didn't have any heat in his apartment. And he would go and he would talk to people about how cold it was. He would hang out in some local gas stations and stuff for warmth. And I'm heartbroken because all I kept saying is, all David had to do was literally come around the corner. I have a heater in my office that I'm not using, and my heart is broken as I'm sitting here going, there's so much we could have done if I would only known. And then I start playing the mental gymnastics of, people have to ask and this and this. No, how much more could I have been in David's life? How much more could I have been a blessing to him because he was such an incredible blessing to me? And then I got online and I started looking, and there's climbers from all over the country that start talking about David. Meeting David in the late 70s and the early 80s. Talking about who he was and how down to earth he was and how nice he was, and just went on with all of these praises, and went on with just admiration for his skills and admiration for his person. But so many of them remembered him from their youth as they went on, as they went and got educations, as they went and started families, as they went and did all of this, and for some reason, David's life broke. And David went to the one place where he thought he could go and find some healing or find some numbness, and something he could never get over, something he could never overcome. They knew and recognized this incredible athlete and leader, and someone who was paving the way to new things in the climbing world. And all I knew was a man who was broken and trying to get by. But yet, that soft gentleness, that encouragement, and that compassion remained as he continued to bless me. I wonder why. I wonder how many times David must have said, "My way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God." And all I can say is sometimes we need to stop asking why. Sometimes we need to cling to the promises. Sometimes the only answer we have is, "I don't know, but I believe God keeps promises." I believe that God takes little grasshoppers and helps them fly like eagles. That I believe that it will be okay. And I celebrate that on this day, David is finally whole. On this day, David has finally gotten over those demons in the grace of Jesus Christ. And I celebrate that David is taking Jesus to the gunks in the sky and going to teach him a little thing out of those gifts, out of that strength, out of that courage. And I celebrate this day that even though I don't know why, that I can cling to the same hope and the same promises that allowed David to come and sit in that seat to experience a grace he longed for, to be able to hug and smile and bless in his darkness. For he got it. He understood that the world can be dark, but God is a God of promises. Promises that are known in the grace of Christ. So grasshoppers, I have no answers except believe in the strength of a God who loves you. Be brave. Allow God to let you fly like eagles in the grace that is Jesus Christ. Pray with me, please. Gracious God, we join all in this room that are crying out, whose hearts are broken and long for your grace, your love, and your healing touch. We cry out with them, Lord, and we ask for you to hear and to respond. And Lord, help us to be that answer. Help us to be Christ's grace where it is needed. Help us to be that encouraging touch, that smile, that hug that is needed in this time and in this place. Gracious God, may this be a place where grasshoppers learn to fly. May this be a place where in our doubts and in our confusion and in our disbelief, we may cling to those who stand strong. And then someday we may hold them up in their brokenness. But gracious God, this day in this space we proclaim that we do believe. We recognize your strength. We recognize your power. We recognize that even though in all the greatness of the universe we matter, and you're concerned, and you will strengthen us that we may continue even where the young fall.